Welcome to the Teddy Hayes Crime Fiction Writing Course. Welcome to today's lecture. Today I'd like to talk to you about something that I find really interesting, and that's detectives who are off the beaten path. When I say that, I mean a detective who has a particular quirk that makes them especially interesting. I think the first one that I encountered was Hercule Poirot because I had encountered him in the 60s, and he had these mannerisms, which now people define as OCD, but in those days he was just eccentric. He had eccentric ways, and I remember trying to explain this to a friend of mine, and he looked at me like I was from outer space because he had never even heard of a person like this, let alone a detective. But since that time, I always found that detectives with certain quirks were really interesting to me. And there's a number of them that you can read if you are interested in creating a character with certain quirks. The ones that come to mind, or unlikely detectives as well, people who are very unlikely to be detectives, and those who have quirks as well kind of fall in the same category to me. There's a Rabbi David Small of the Rabbi David Small mysteries. There's Monk, who is a television detective, uh, played by Tony Shalhoub, and I think he does a great portrayal of Monk. And of course, there's Columbo. Peter Falk does a great uh, portrayal of Columbo, who's supposedly absent-minded, but really he's not. He's just quirky, and he's kind of off the beaten path a bit, and he's very clever, of course. Then there's one of my favorite, Cracker, uh, who was a psychologist played by Robbie Coltrane, and I just thought that when I saw Cracker that it was a really, really, really good series because this was a detective who was three-dimensional. He was not necessarily a likable person, but he was such a clever person, and that made him a detective that was off the beaten path. There's also Anna DeTroyer, who is a Native American detective who she gets involved in the spirit world, and that's interesting. Another favorite of mine is Kolchak. It was 1970s TV series in America, and he was an investigative reporter. And Kolchak investigated paranormal mysteries, and that was very interesting too because again, it was off the beaten path. So, um, if you run into these kinds of detectives, it may give you ideas. Another one of my favorites is a detective created by Colin Cotterill called Sri Piebone. And this is in Cambodia. And this detective is a surgeon. And what's lovely about this detective is he interacts with the spirit world. He's often inhabited by a spirit from another dimension that comes in and gives him information that will lead to him solving the crime. So these are all kind of quirky things that you may want to think about and at least be aware of as a crime fiction writer, because the more ammunition you have uh, to write crime fiction with, the better and bigger explosion you can make in the crime fiction world. So there you are, today's lecture. Happy writing.
The best crime writers are crime readers. So please go to the Amazon site and buy any Devil Barnett novel. Thank you.